Across the country, left, right, and center. And we also have Nitya Ramaswamy ma'am joining us today. Uh, we kept the presentation and add a little small since today we are having an elongated session. This is the 12th in the series, and we will be having a lot of insights coming into all our participants on the new education policy, which has got a lot of inputs for us. So without any further ado, I invite Dr. Seema to share a little insights on the session she took earlier, and also then we will have Lieutenant Colonel Shekhar share something on the NEP, and the ground is open for all the panelists to share their views as our super guest Lieutenant Colonel Shekhar speaks about it. Over to Dr. Seema.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chandraji, and hearty congratulations for this series. I think, as we were discussing, it has enriched many lives, and that is from where I would like to start. That's the need of the hour, that each and every one have to touch the lives and enrich them. As Colonel Shekhar will give us more insight about new education policy, it will also make us realize that how important it has become to upskill ourselves, and how important it has become for all of us to go through the cycle of learn, relearn, and unlearn again and again and again and again. Because as it is already said, that the 21st century illiterates will not be the one who do not know how to read and write, but the one who do not know how to go through this cycle of unlearning and relearning. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Square Panda to give this kind of platform, not only to the people who are attending it as audience, but also to the people who are attending it as panelists, because it is a new learning journey for us also. So it was a wonderful experience with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Seema ma'am, for keeping it really very brief, as always, to the point. Our next invitee, the person who did the opening ceremony for us, Miss Harsha.
Thank you so much, Chandar and Square Panda. Really, I will copy whatever Seema said. You know, it's like copy that, because Square Panda's journey not only enriched the attendees, but it also enriched every one of us, you know, because each and every session was compiled so beautifully that each was different than the other, and the learning happened for both the attendees and for us as panelists. So I really congratulate Team Square Panda and Chandar for all the efforts that they take to upskill the teachers fraternity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Our next panelist, Ms. Shweta Shah from Surat, Gujarat, once again.
So hello to everyone, all the beautiful teachers who are here, who bring about a change in the life of every learner in this world. And a big hello to the vibrant participants on the panel, and even to Shekharji. It's a privilege to be invited by Square Panda on this lovely platform where we can, as ma'am said, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that will be the motto of this coming century. Keep learning and try evolving and try being creative in everything that you do. So Square Panda has contributed in every way by bringing so many different topics where teachers could connect and learn, unlearn, and relearn. And we have been a part of this panel previously, so it was a great time where we got to connect with teachers from so many different countries. Chandraji, thanks a lot for that.
Sure. It's always our pleasure, ma'am. And I'd just like to share it, and once again for the audiences, Shweta ma'am had 2 long sessions on multiple intelligence, and they were one of the best, which was seen again and again on Facebook, and people had really written a lot of comments coming in about how they had taken a lot of efforts to integrate all about MI with preschool learning. I next ask our
thanks so much, sir.
Nitya ma'am to share something, and then finally we will have the stage open for our main guest of the day, Lieutenant Colonel Shekhar. Over to Nitya ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chandar, and a very good afternoon to all of you, and a special good afternoon to Seema. Trust all well with you, and Harsha and Shweta. So now,
No, ma'am.
when I started the session, it was about how important early childhood education is, and like it's a cornerstone of all education. That's what I started with, and I think it's panned out very well. I've got very good feedback from two of my nieces who are attending it from two different parts of the country, one from Ghaziabad and one from the south. Uh, I think the initiative is very good, and this in-service training to keep the pedal on the the foot on the accelerator is very important. Nonetheless, I think there is also, we need to keep in mind that we say a lot, and as I always say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We plan a lot, we talk a lot, and like having been in the domain for over 40 years, I know that it is so important for us to be able to walk our talk and handhold the teachers to execute what we are saying. It is very difficult in these days and times where they have to upskill themselves every now and then. It is more of skilling than pure education. And that's when I started about the importance of laying the foundation in the early years, and the importance of the teacher who lays that foundation. She needs to be so sure of her competencies, whether they are at least on a scale of 3 out of 5 match what is required to be an early childhood teacher, and then get into the domain. That's what I focused on, and I'm sure Colonel G is going to bring in a lot more inputs about the national education policy, where they're talking a lot about skilling the current teachers. It's so important that when we talk about pedagogy, we all forget that we are pedagogues. Pedagogues are those, as in Greek they said, who led the learner to the learning environment. Literally, he was the person who led the child to school, and that's how it's called a pedagogue, by foot. What it means translates today is, are we doing the job? Are we enabling the child to walk towards the learning that is desired of him, to be able to achieve the objectives that we set right for the teacher or the child? With that, I stop, and over to Colonel G and Chandar.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. All our panelists being very brief enough today, and we are sure we'll have a lot of learning from Colonel Shekhar, and all of us would be contributing to that learning for each participant of us. I now invite our special guest of the Colonel Shekhar and his inputs on this journey about the webinars where he has been motivating us, guiding us, training us, and also taking us to a task but offline. So all those things wrapped into one, and over to Colonel Shekhar, sir.
Good evening to all the participants. Good evening to my colleagues here, Madam Shweta, and of course to Chandar. I think Chandar must take a course on public relations and how to manage people. Do things which in normal circumstances having me. My apologies, that has gone outside just here in Bangalore. Yeah, some noise coming through. Is my voice clear? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, now we are able to hear you, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Am I better heard now?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you able
Yes,
to
sir.
hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Some issue in terms of audio. Am I better heard now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Hello. Yeah. I think there's some problem with the audio. I hope it stabilizes in the next few minutes. hopefully things would be better heard. Yeah. So I was trying to persuade Chandra to do a course in perception management and public relations. He's pretty good at that. And thank you, Square Panda, for having us. So before we proceed with this conversation, I'd first go across to Nitya ma'am with her experience to ask her something. What would be, in a minute, your big challenge in terms of implementing the policy on the ground? Nitya ma'am, please.
See that when I read about it, it all sounds. I mean, pardon me, all of you. I'm not trying to, fault, but I'm just playing the devil's advocate, and I would like to critique it in the real sense, having been a teacher educator myself in a B.Ed college. Now, in the national education policy, they are clear about, okay, we will do this 4-year course, we will do this 2-year course, we will do this 1-year course. It is not the number of years. And in fact, just before they even admit the person into the B.Ed college, what I would request the policy to really look at is the person ready to be a teacher? We must have a common entrance test. It's not about the knowledge. Knowledge is something which you can enable a person acquire with repeated practice. Skill is something you can make them practice and train. It's the attitude. Having been in the B.Ed college and having been in the Mumbai University of admissions in B.Ed colleges, what I realize is when the child does not get anything else, any other professional course, they choose B.Ed by default.
Fair.
Whether it's a lady or it's a man, and it just doesn't help. At the end of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
day, you have a person who's not made a teacher by choice. Now, this filter, I do not know how this filter will happen. They have said we will change the curriculum. They have said we will make them, we will upskill the persons, we will make them technical. It's all done and dusted. 21st century skill is passe. I don't
Very true.
understand why NEP is still talking about
Fair,
21st
ma'am.
century skills.
Fair,
It's
ma'am. Yeah.
something we have to go further, and that
Yeah.
is a lacunae which it struck me, and I really thought I'm not going to hold it back. Today I am going to share it. It bothers me.
Very fair, ma'am. I must have done close to a dozen webinars, and almost everyone holds their punches back. And having been in interactive sessions where questioning or critiquing the policy is a bit of a challenge, I'm glad that you brought it out. But, ma'am, I'll follow up this not with you, with somebody else. The question of the right teacher coming for our schools. And I'll take this now up to Seema Negi. She's very active everywhere else. I see her a lot on LinkedIn. She's got a lot of thoughts about it. Picking up from what Nitya Ramaswamy says, how do we get teachers who are inspired, who are willing to be? Say, for example, here in Bangalore, there are a lot of teachers who come in where husbands are working in the IT profession. I want to spend time with my child. That's basically what Nitya ma'am is trying to highlight. I came into this profession because I believe I could make a difference. Now, we are looking at 321 million students, slightly higher than the population of United States. How will you on ground make Nitya's complaint that teachers are not coming as their first choice? How would you do it?
So to start with, first of all, I agree completely with what Nitya ma'am said, because it's a biggest challenge. It's a biggest challenge. I think, okay, rather than talking about NEP and how we'll implement, I think implementation can also be done. But how do you get the right teacher, and how do you train them to become a right teacher? Because the cliche mindset that females, if they do not have anything to do, they will become teacher.
Yeah.
Or the cliche mindset that it's only females who go to teaching. And when parents come to school, they ask, how many female teachers do you have? So what are we looking for? Are we looking for a growth mindset wherein we want passionate educators who want to actually impart knowledge, or we are just looking for people who have done their B.Ed. Their B.Ed shows that they are A-star teachers, and demos are managed because you give them a topic and you tell them to, okay, present the topic, and they present you the best of topic which you never see in the classroom when they are hired. So the ground realities, from where do we get the teachers, right teachers? And Shekhar sir, I actually wonder, who are the role models? Where are the role models that we are presenting for our teachers? There are no role models. And second and last thing, which is very important, I feel, what about the pay package? What are we giving them? So what are we giving them? I think that is what we are getting. So why we are not like progressive countries wherein they say that teachers are the highest when it comes to the hierarchy of professions? So if that will happen, then only the mindset will change. Then only people
Okay.
will say teacher is not a half day job.
Right. Ma'am, there is also a challenge where, and I get what you are coming to. We are either, there are two extremes to this discussion which happens. Either we say we are the greatest in the world, or we go into the pits, we are the worst in the world. We tend to go into this emotional pendulum up and down. Coming back to that conversation, and I go to Madam Harsha. The question is, how do we get our teachers? Firstly, the point which both the ladies have mentioned is it's not going to change overnight. Even the policy talks about the next 10 years, 20 years. After a while, we'll talk about the implementation part and we'll discuss that. So, with over the next 5 years, how would you, with the available teachers with you, with a new early curriculum framework coming in, a new foundational system coming in, two questions for you. How will you motivate your existing teachers? Two, how will you ensure that quality teachers come into the system? Madam Harsha, 1 minute for you.
Thank you so much, Shekhar sir. But I will take 2 minutes because I have to first, take that note, that very nice and important point that Miss Nitya and Seema have put up. My first blog when I started writing was on this, that whenever it's about teachers, it's always or majority on force that they take this profession. So I really thank Nitya ma'am that you brought this point here. Now, Colonel Shekhar, to your question about how we can motivate the teachers. See, there are two types of motivation that I feel. One is inner motivation and one is an external motivation. External motivation can be given to the teachers by conducting such webinars that Square Panda conducts. Inner motivation is self-driven. So that has to be done with a person with his or her conscious. If a person is ready to change, definitely you can have a good teacher. Though when a teacher joins us, maybe she's not wanting to be a passionate educator, but through her course of journey she meets people, she gets inspired or motivated with the role models or the mentors which she comes across in her journey. That is one way that can be done. Second is the external motivation that can be given to the teachers, and hopefully in my journey, I think I have been very successful because we belong to a very small town in Gujarat. So here, to find teachers is a task, and second, to find teachers with passion is another a biggest challenge. So what we do, we continuously arrange programs wherein teachers are externally motivated. And then what I found out is that external motivation definitely kicks in the internal motivation, though the ratio would be in a scale of, say, 2 is to 10. So out of 10 teachers whom we are motivating externally, we find only 2. But I find that to be a fair ratio, because at least 2 teachers are motivated who can touch lives in the classroom. Very rightly, Seema also mentioned about that teachers are not paid well. Exactly, I will touch that point again, because teacher profession of teaching is not looked upon as a respectable profession. Though all of us admit कि teachers respected होते हैं, उनको respect देना चाहिए, but when it comes to salary, it's just what y'all are doing. It's just A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3. So I think number one, everyone has to understand that 0 to 8 years are the formative years, and education that we impart in those years is very important. If that fits in, I think we will have that respectable place in the eyes of the society, and eventually it will definitely drive us when we talk about our inner motivation.
Right. Ma'am, you're again touched upon points which are consistent with what we see and what we look at, but I'd go much further. Society is made up of people like you and me. How many of us want our sons and daughters to be army officers or army men or to join the teaching profession? Can we get away from this sophisticated hypocrisy which we all follow? Everyone says, Bharat Mata ki Jai. The shout is great. आपके बेटे को फौज में ज्वाइन करवा दो. Actually, one son, one daughter, me, family. So this kind of thing keeps happening. The same thing happens with the teaching profession too. And once there was this webinar where a question was sent to me. He says, all these panelists who are talking big, please tell them make their son or daughter-in-law a teacher, and the conversation would stop. I think this societal thing, A, it is there, B, it is overblown, and C, we talk about it and we are not willing to change that aspect. To Shweta Shah from Surat, how will you make the Surti Hurti community, possibly the world's second fastest growing economy, to make sure that the teaching community gets the kind of intrinsic respect every teacher craves for? Shweta Shah.
Sir, a very beautiful question. I was waiting to answer after listening to all the speakers. The pay package, the visibility, and the respect to this profession are the three major issues. So I would suggest that there is something like a teacher's bank, like a listing of teachers or educators from all over India. Let us start with India. They can put in what they have learned, what are their qualifications, where they can teach, can they go and teach in another state or city. So there are many people who are looking out for a job, sir, but there is not a particular way of guiding them. So there are so many teachers asking in for a job or a job switch or a job change. So a teacher bank or something like teacher counselors, there is no perfect guidance or counseling given to teachers throughout the year. You will entertain them to a year-round training or a 6-monthly training or a quarterly teachers training, but that will not suffice. You need a mentor, you need a counselor. Like how you have a student counselor, you should have a teacher counselor, a free advice center which can guide you mentally. Any physical problems, they can guide you. They can guide you to any kind of a stress that you are undergoing. Where is the help? There are big talks, but there is no help provided. So let us have teacher counseling stations, something like that, something creative where people like you, me and all who are willing to contribute into the educational sector could come together and make something like this. And as for the Surat community, like there are very educated people, sir, who are willing to teach. They have so much creativity. So for teachers, it is not B.Ed that matters. You should have that creative intent. You should have that willingness and you should have that power to give. So I would always want teachers who are ready to give or share something nice would come up front and take up this profession.
Right. See, ma'am, I've now heard all four of you. We are in that same position where we talk about everything the teacher comes through, the challenge, etc. In fact, why I highlighted this was restoring the credibility of the teacher is a sharp statement made in the national education policy. Talking about teachers training, harshly spoken, the quality of our teacher training institutions, if they don't improve, they have to be shut down is what the policy says.
Very true, sir.
Yeah, at the end of all of this, we say all this, we want to do this, B.Ed options, etc. The question is, we all run, we have been in private schools, we have been in establishments. Where is the money? How do we sustain in an environment? This is just an editorial comment. I'm not asking you a question. How do we have a system where now parents are up in arms telling the government, let's reduce the fees, cut the fees. Gujarat has faced it, Maharashtra had, Karnataka has had. That's one challenge. Second, so many restrictions in charging fees. Third, everyone wants 7th or 8th pay commission. So that is a combination of things in an economy where COVID has reduced money to a large extent. We do have a challenge. But before we go into the next, I have a very generic presentation which covers every aspect of the national education policy. Chandar, will you allow me to share? Is it possible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In case there is a challenge, Pankaj is there at back end to allow.
Yeah, I'm just putting it. I hope that you guys can see it. Yeah, able to see?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the better ones which I saw. It's a quick overview. I'm not going to spend too much time. I'll only focus on certain key ones which we can look at. This is general. The vision part is easily understood.
Sir, the PPT is not visible. Maybe you selected a blank screen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now visible?
No, sir. Yeah, now it's visible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now it's visible. So it's a generic one. We'll only focus on a few, and I would request the panelists also to be watchful because there'll be a few questions coming your way as we are watching it. I want to go through this in a manner which is easy enough for us to focus upon. These are the generic ones. The standard generic ones, I wouldn't, spend too much time. Yeah, this one would be interesting. Yeah. Nitya Ramaswamy, madam, the multiple pathways. What is your understanding of what this document talks about in multiple pathways? Nitya ma'am, can you hear me? Hello. Chandar, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, is Nitya ma'am there or she missed out?
I think so.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
she dropped out.
Okay, I'll get back to it. Is Seema, can you take that question on? What do you understand by this multiple pathways thing here?
So, as per my understanding, multiple pathways here involves, as it says, formal and non-formal education modes. Like I think Shweta was telling, if somebody who might not have the qualification or the degree, but the inclination, wherein the expertise can be brought into the education system and could be taken forward, wherein we can integrate everyone, the one who are trained, the one who are untrained, but the one who have some vocational experience, they can also share their expertise. So multiple pathways, the learning has to take place from all the ends.
Right. So very good point, ma'am. And that's where we come to the point that we are going to have 4 new national curriculum frameworks. One for the foundational one, that is early childhood, one for grade 1 to 12, one for adult education, one for teachers training. So all this put together is how the policy is going to come into implementable mode. This is one of the easier ones to see. I am looking forward to seeing how the resource sharing in school complexes will happen. We normally only focus on what we have as these 26,000 CBSE schools. Nationally, we have over 16 lakh schools. Over 20% of them are one teacher schools. 30% of them have less than 100 students. So consolidation is important. How will they do it is something which is going to be interesting. Then we come to the language barrier. Maybe we can have a look at it later. Yeah, this is the most copied and most discussed part. How the implementation on ground would happen is interesting. Yes, Bhavna madam, how do you think we can implement the foundational one with your experience? How do you think that these initial years, how will we be able to get our system of 5+3+4 on ground? What are the challenges you think we will face?
I think so. It was Harsha, ma'am, not
Yeah,
Harsha.
Harsha ma'am, yeah. Harsha ma'am, are you there? Hello. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, Harsha, ma'am.
No, not heard. Yeah. Nitya ma'am, we missed you in between. Yeah, you vanished so very quickly, we couldn't chase you where you were. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that question Seema had answered. So I wanted it to be specific to you, to ask
Yeah.
you, ma'am, how important is having a formal degree like B.Ed to become a teacher? You made this point, and Seema had highlighted the non-formal part, right? How important is to have B.Ed? And to my counter question, provocative one, is it better to be a non-B.Ed teacher?
Sir, the only reason why anybody would be a B.Ed is your salary scale depends upon those two letters behind your name.
Right.
So that unless the government and even private schools, I have been a principal of a private school for a number of years. And I know that I would have ace teachers who are postgraduates and graduates, but their scale would be very low, simply because the B.Ed is not there. So for me, the question is, although I believe that to be a good teacher, you do not need a B.Ed behind your name. However, if you want to survive and grow, as it is, as we've rightly suggested, all of us have spoken about it, Ms. Shweta, Seema, Harsha, everyone has spoken about the salary part of it. You will only get beaten if you don't have B.Ed behind your name. So for that, it's a necessary, I cannot use the word evil, but
But you have
it's
used it, ma'am.
important.
But you have used it. Let's accept it. It's a good one to have. Yeah. Now that follow-up question, ma'am, how do you think the foundational structure will be redesigned after the new academic structure comes into it? What would be your 5 key things you think has to happen for the early childhood to become the real engine for future growth?
I think the first important aspect is when you talk about early childhood education, I would want all the teachers to be trained in the growth mindset pattern, where you believe that effort is what pays and it is not the result that has to be accoladed. First and foremost, I know it may be very cliche that people talk about growth mindset, and it has been there for quite some time. Like MI is beaten to death. I wouldn't even want anybody to talk about MI because nobody is following it, sir. I'm an auditor with the Quality Council of India, and I know how difficult it is when people write it in the vision and it is not in action. It's not anybody's fault. Everyone is aspirational, but
Madam,
let us be true about our aspiration. So one is,
Madam, I'll just interrupt you here. Carol Dweck is the new hard gardener. Growth mindset is going to replace hard gardener in all our vision statements. Please continue.
yeah, I totally agree with you, sir. When I've audited in the recent past, when I audited about, say, 5 schools, 3 of them had that in their mission statement. Okay, I agree with you. So, one thing is the teachers must have to definitely be trained in the structure of the brain, how a child learns, how do neural pathways connect, what are the actually, they must learn to understand the anatomy of the brain for them to do the neural pathways for learning. There is a strong biological knowledge that has to be developed in early years for the teacher to be a good early childhood teacher.
Great,
It's
ma'am.
not in a, yeah. So
Great,
that
ma'am.
is very important.
Yeah. Now, the next one. This is the key one for us. Shweta Shah, look at this framework. How ready are you as somebody in the field for
Yes, sir.
this framework to be implemented in the organizations you are part of? This framework of for ECCE is
Yes, sir.
perhaps, yeah, I'll show it back again. This is the one. How ready are you to implement it, and what are the key challenges?
So the curriculum that early childhood education related institute should be very creative. Mostly all the preschools that I have encountered or any pre-primary institute that I have encountered have implemented quite so many things of these, like puzzle solving or
Good.
painting, art and craft.
Good.
But what is needed to be done is it has to be unanimous. It has to be there everywhere, not in selective brands. Like, I don't want to mention the brands, but they have a very nice way of teaching, and it is implemented throughout all the franchisees. So what about the local brands? Are they following it? So there should be some kind of a check, or there should be some kind of a mentorship for these people who are local brands for preschools, and they have developed their own curriculum. So there should be a standard curriculum method so that no one differs from it.
Okay.
If people don't do it, you make it and give it to them. There
Right.
should be some method by which they all have to follow one particular norm.
I think that's going to come. I was there in a conference today morning. Dr. Anita Karwal, the NCRT director, all of them were there. They were quite clear that the norms will be standardized for everyone. So the question now, where is, she has missed, Chandar, is she not there? The lady from Bhavnagar, I can't see.
Harsha ma'am. No, yeah, maybe
Harsha ma'am.
she
Is
has
she
moved
there?
out somewhere.
Okay, yeah. Seema, the question. Shweta says that most of this is implemented in private schools. So one point which in discussions have come across is the national curriculum framework or the new education policy is less to do with private schools because they are doing most of it. They have to get it sorted out. It's much more to do with the 55% who are in government schools. Do you agree, or is this framework already being implemented in institutions you are part of? Seema Negi.
So most of the private school, as Shweta said, they are implementing, I will not say 100%, but 85% of the things mentioned are implemented in most of the private school. Now there's a reason behind that also, because everybody wants to be ahead in the race. So they are coming up with as much as creative things which they can offer to the learners. So this happening in the private school, but when we come to the government school, which you spoke about, sir, yes, bringing them at par, that will be a challenge. And if we can have something like a private public hand-holding model, wherein a private school in the vicinity can handhold a government school and they can share the resources and both of them can move forward, I see that kind of partnership very visionary, because we have done it for one of our local schools. If that can be done, I think it can be implementable.
So can I interrupt?
Hello?
Can I add something, sir?
Yeah, quickly.
Yes, so I saw that in the education policy there was something like adopting a school, a government school, like a private school has adopt. So that should be the same case for any local brand. Like a preschool could adopt another preschool which is not having a particular curriculum to follow or particular methods to follow.
In terms of adoption, in terms of philanthropic models, there is a lot of scope. I would recommend that please don't go by only the NEP. That's about 62 pages. Please go back to the 484 pages of the draft policy and please wait for how it is being implemented. And Nitya Ramaswamy is elder to me. So ma'am, you and I can agree the will must may be done as far as possible. I counted about 20 and left it because there is a lot of scope. But from what I hear, there is now beginning to be some element of uniform thinking where how we have to go ahead on this. Now to the next one, early childhood learning in the formative years. To the auditor in Nitya Ramaswamy, honest comments, ma'am, how well do our schools implement it and how much more we have to go forward? And here, just to connect to the conference and meetings we are having, how will Square Panda, the training, the organizations like this come to this learning which is shown in this slide? Nitya Ramaswamy, madam.
See, there are the most important lacunae, sir, as you say in auditing, everybody intends well, okay? However, they intend well in spirit. When you see the objectives that are written down and when you see in the primary years, that is the formative years, which is very, very important, where we call the delta period, that's exactly what the policy is now focusing on, the delta classes. You have up to 5th, you have up to 8th, and then you have up to the 12th. And then you have up to the 2nd. Now, the delta classes and the the most important is the emerging student profile for every level has to be mapped in our education policy. What is the emerging student profile? What is it that you would expect the child at the end of the fifth standard know? So what to work backwards? What is it that you expect the child at the end of second standard to know? So work backwards. Kindergarten to second has been world over. India is adapting it today. But are we clear on our emerging student profile? For our formative years, are you sure about your early years? What is the emerging student profile? In fact, you ask me, I want the emerging student profile to be drafted from 12th. Work
Yeah,
backwards. Work
yeah,
backwards. Only then, and this unfortunately, Colonel G, is a huge lacunae.
right.
Huge lacunae.
It is.
And now, as Seema ma'am rightly pointed out, or as Shweta ma'am pointed out, I'm not sure, one of them said it. Like, I remember when I was principal, I would, the day I announced admissions, previous night people would come and lie down over there. They would, the next morning, somebody would, like a bait and relay. Today, there are dime a dozen school. The parents can choose. So every school is competing with another school to try and implement more and more and more and more in the process of acquiring admission and a business model. You have a CFO, you have a CEO, you have its HR head, the principal is in charge. The learning is lost everywhere, sir. It
Okay,
hurts me to say this, but
fair.
formative years, they are not focusing on what needs to be focused.
Fair. I think that's where I think all of us require at least one big step has been made. There
Yeah,
is going to be an early childhood specific
yeah.
curriculum. I think that I can see Asma Zaidi coming in just in. Can you hear me, ma'am? Good evening. Are you able to hear me, Asma Zaidi? No. Chandar, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to add one or two aspects to it from my experience of visiting thousands of schools. One is, why do we always think that the teacher has to teach or facilitate or use any word? Why can't we create children self-learners? I'm not saying only in the foundation years, but even in grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, why can't our children become self-learners? Why that thing doesn't happen? And the second question I would want the panel to address is, the child is in the school for 4 hours. How do we manage the environment of the remaining 20 hours when the child is at home?
Right. Two great questions. The first one I would answer almost straight away. This policy places the onus on the teacher much more. And I'm glad that it is happening, because one of the things of our system, Chandar, which we are so much prone to is, we do not want mentorship, we want control, or we also want somebody to tell us what is to be done. That tends to, there was this explanation, the color, this is brown, this is red, and this is how we always talk. We do encourage people to reflect and think. That's part of our problem. That's part of a lot of things which we are looking at. This policy, at least in its theory and thought process, is a major difference in the way we want to proceed ahead. So the first problem, Chandar, is it dovetails into what Madam Nitya said, that teachers are not coming in as first, second, or even third choices. Then the money, all this put together, I always call this, and teachers who are familiar with me will know my term, the Kamandalu approach. 2:30 baje school band honi hai. 2:29, the teacher is ready with her bag, positioned as a Kamandalu. She has to go home. And there is this simultaneous challenge. She's a daughter-in-law, she's a mother, she's a spouse, and we men folk would not even prepare a cup of tea or coffee, although things are improving. So all those challenges put together, where does she create that space? So what she looks for is, yaar, jo bol raha hai, principal, whether it is Seema, Shekhar or Nitya, jo bol raha hai, karke hum chale jayenge, rather than apply your mind. So that's a more bigger socio-cultural emotional problem. The second aspect of parenting, that's a big question. How we can look at it and tackle. Now, I'll take the reverse side. Just check if Madam Asma Zaidi is there. Can I ask her a question? She was part of the panel. If I'm not wrong, check it out, Chanda. Now I start off this question with Seema now. What is the parental role here? How can the COVID situation has made the parent a co-teacher, the teacher a co-parent? Fair. COVID is not going to last. Thankfully, the vaccine of Serum Institute of India will make its effects from March. Otherwise, we might lose the next year too. How would you answer Chanda's question of the role of the parent in early childhood?
So, Chandra, to answer your question, honestly, the role of parent is not going to change because the parent feel that it is school's responsibility when it comes to the child. Yes, right now everything is looking like initially when the online session started, everything looked like a fancy model. Everything looked like, wow, we are tech gen parents and we are there with our child. We are enjoying the activity. But trust me, the screen fatigue has started seeping in. Now they want that things to go back to normal and they want teachers to take the responsibility. And the mindset that we have in India, to be very honest, that when we are paying the fees, it is teachers' responsibility to teach, will really take time to change. But at the same time, I am still very hopeful because we have seen this change. There are some parents who are understanding, who are more empathetic now, and who understand that to bring their child up as a holistic individual, it is parent and school together.
From the creators of the award-winning English Early Literacy Phonics playset, we bring to you a research-based, revolutionary and cutting-edge English reading product. Square Tales combine digital learning with physical application, transforming your pre-readers into independent and confident readers. Your child starts instantly from our bookshelf. Our patented blending engine helps your child blend letter sounds to form words with only 8 letters. Once they practice the words, they can start to read along the story through a very engaging and interactive interface. Several engaging activities at the end of each book help the child revise what they have learned.
Good job!
And while the children revise, our product assess their learning. Just try Square Tales 15 minutes a day to see a stark progress in your child.
Every parent can think in that direction, which is very, very difficult, Colonel Sir. Let's see how soon that change comes.
Right, yeah. I will again be provocative here to play the devil's advocate. Seema represents a very strong thought that parents are not supportive enough. And I have also seen the other side where parents, because of their stresses and strains, are unable to do it. And the school doesn't support enough. There is evidence on both sides.
True.
Nithya Ramaswamy ma'am, who is fair? Is the parent fair or is the teacher fair? Where do you stand on this?
Sir, the thing is, I have been a principal of when the schools were following a traditional system where the teacher's word was the ultimate. When we said something, it happened. I've also been part of the time when corporatization of education took place in the early 2000s, and that is when education and schools became a service-oriented industry. The minute we start talking about service, the parent is looked at as a customer and the one who pays, okay? And now she demands. So I agree. The traditional thought is we tell them parents are effective partners. We have to have some amount of mandate we can do, but this far and no further. Today the situation, Colonel G, is I pay, you better take care of my child. It's a customer-driven organization. It is a customer satisfaction model is what has happened because of corporatization of education. Okay, in government schools it is there, but in government schools, I know that parents, especially the Navodaya model and other things, where everything is done by the teachers, and Navodaya children are doing exceedingly well, but nothing of them is spoken about it at all, which is sad. Navodaya is one of the best models that are taking shape in many
Agreed.
cities. So the only, I agree with Seema now, totally agree. Now today, sir, as principals and as educators, we have no say with the parents. For us, they are, you pay, you deliver. And it is very difficult for us to make the parent an effective partner because it's a two-income family to afford good schools.
Okay. Now,
So,
I have to now, challenge this concept, at least at some level, because it's going far too one-sided for an element of balance. Ma'am, yeah.
Yeah, my mic is okay. I'd like to say a few things.
Yeah, I'll come to you. It's Asma Zaidi.
Ji.
Yeah. Can we see you on screen? Good evening. Welcome to the panel. I'll just get back to you. I will give you the opportunity after I speak to Shweta. Hello. Salam alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm good.
All right. Yeah. The point I'm trying to highlight is I've seen both sides. Bullying parents who demand to change everything, and equally, having been a principal, leader, director, people like you and me, how many of us are not sitting? Sometimes getting an appointment with Narendra Modi is easier. To meet a school principal is much tougher, especially during admission times. Let us see both sides of it to a large extent. My belief is, after a while, a good school, when it balances itself out with professionals like you, there will be more balance into that conversation. Shweta Shah, are you saying that the parental customer focus is higher, or are the teachers not being open enough? Teachers want control, they do not like mentoring. So to that extent, the previous slide is the reference where how will we make our teachers to be more balanced, yet be respectful of parents, not to be intimidated by parents. Shweta Shah.
Yes, sir. So to this question, I would want to answer that the teachers, when they are handling a parent-teacher meet or a time when they have to interact with the parents related to the reports or the assessments, is the most crucial part, because they feel they are answerable to so many questions. And the only answer is, I am my best and this is what it is. So they have to come to an understanding that whatever they are doing with the child or whatever they are having to do as an expectation from the parental side, you come to an ease with it. If you feel that a child is not performing and there is some problem, let us not discuss it in a PTM. Let it be a very private talk. Let it be a very understanding talk where you are not blaming the parent or the child. Here the problem is we always put the blame game and we always put the pistol on the head, and there is only one way out. Shoot, and that is it. That should not be it. There should be a solution to every problem. So there should be parent partnership groups where we have very good understanding parents as heads, and these groups try to ease out the stress that is being created between the teacher, between the administration.
Shweta madam, your voice is not heard. Can you mute your video so that you are heard better?
Yes, sir.
And
sir, is it clear?
Yeah, please continue. Yeah, it's much better. Yeah, continue.
So that Zoom picks up your voice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, now better. Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying is we should have parent partnership groups where we have parenting heads who are very cooperative, who could get the point across. And if there is a stressful situation, then it can be solved. Do not discuss very accurate problems in a parent-teacher meet. Do personal counseling sessions. Try to make it more understandable that rather than doing the blame game. So here the only tension is that think only in one direction and the parents also think in only one direction. I am paying and you give me the solution. That the teacher's problem I am teaching, it has to be, the outcome has to be good. If it is not good, that is not my problem. So this has to be solved.
Sir, I have just one point to make, a very quick point.
I'll come back. I'll come back to you, ma'am. I just give Asma Zaidi the point. I'll come back to you. I do a round, and I'm sure the harder you speak, the better it is. Yeah, I just have one additional point. Social media, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, Google University, all add on to our chaos. Yes, Asma Zaidi, introduce yourself and join in the fun. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Asma Zaidi, and I'm the Vice Principal of Focus High School in Hyderabad. I am also a part of ECA APER, Territory Head for Telangana and Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you for having me here. I'd like to give my 2 cents. We have very eminent panelists, and I've been hearing them for some time now. Where parent issues are concerned, I just wanted to make a point that what I have seen in my experience, and mind you, our school is in the old part of Hyderabad. It's not in the new modern areas where you have educated, we still have educated parents, but the majority of the parents are lesser educated, a little on towards the middle class, lower end middle class strata. So, but what we have noticed is that with parents, there are 2, 3 things. One, it's not as if they don't care about the children. They do. Yes, I completely agree. They take you to be service providers. They have become customers. We are offering services to them. But we have seen a change by adopting something called a school culture. The school culture is very important. You have to set a school culture. You have to set a culture for learning, a culture for professionalism. You have to take them on as partners. And what we have started noticing during the pandemic is that we have started recording short videos, very short videos about, bite-sized videos, jise kehte hain na, about short things which are important for, because I deal with early years. So early years, small bite-sized information which takes time to digest, and you give that for 2, 3 weeks, and you let parents reflect on it. So for example, imagine in a place like Old City of Hyderabad, in that strata of society, where parents are so aggressive about books and writing and things being traditional. We have adopted the Montessori approach. We had adopted the IB no books approach, no writing approach, play-based approach, having the children, on our online classes, we are asking the children to wash dishes. So can you imagine the shift in mindset for parents to be able to digest the fact that we are asking their children to wash dishes and sending them videos on how to close their buttons as a part of learning, as opposed to apple and trees and plants and shrubs and that kind of knowledge information. So I think it has a lot to do with school culture. It has a lot to do with setting the tone at the time of admission and what you expect from the parents, and also giving them, making them feel as if they are partners in their child's journey, and letting them in on this journey. It has worked for us, so I don't see why it cannot work in the more affluent part of the society.
Sir, may I?
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
Mine is a very short thing. Like, the thing is, as a person who always says that there is a solution to every challenge that we face, we created what is known as impact in every class, which is integrating motivated parents and active teachers. This impact group is created in every class. And after that is created, what happens is, we also started what is known as a Know Your Child KYC sessions, where the child and the parent come together to meet the teacher at a specific time, and they talk about the child. It's not about academics, it's about his being. And this way, the parent became effective partner. We call this entire session as PEP, which is parent as effective partners, and the impact sessions. This is calendared. And
Okay.
when it is, and every parent is given a date when he can find time to come and sit with the child. So all I'm saying is, yes, we have challenges, but for every challenge there is a solution. And I agree with what Ms. Negi was saying, that it is all depends on the leadership and the culture that is created to treat parents as partners.
Great. Chandar, are you able to hear me loud and clear?
Sir, I am able to hear you loud and clear. I just wanted to add a little thing.
Yeah, I'll come to
Just
that. Yeah, just a minute. Are you able to see the screen?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chandar, please.
Sir, I just wanted to add about the culture part and what Asmaji said. You come in from the army background. I also come from an armed force family. Every army regiment has got its own song. It has got its own story. It creates a motivation for a new cadet who joins. Can you share something how every school can create that kind of a culture or a motivation? How
It's
people
5
do in
o'clock.
army?
Yeah. Are you a mind reader? That's what I was about to talk when she touched upon culture and leadership. Yeah. One of the things I've always found, and this is something which we all require to look at. In the armed forces, trust is a very positive thing. I walk into a unit, I'm part of a unit. The first thing is Colonel Sheikh, till the time you make a mistake. चंदर को मैं देख लूं यार वो कैसे बिहेव करता है, then I'll start trusting him. That's from where our fundamental issue starts creating a problem. That the second part of this entire thing is, as leaders, we do not find time to develop the culture within the system. And the third aspect, and this is a harsh thing I would say, large number of teachers have lost their jobs. There has been cut in salaries. A lot of things have happened. Please tell me, Chandar, how many principals have resigned? Very few. So there is a leadership issue. That leadership issue is a significant challenge. One, I as a principal do not want my second rung to come up. In the armed forces, you are responsible for training your juniors. If your juniors don't do well, your boss will howl at you, what's your job? And my boss is responsible for my leadership. And three, we move on. General Joshi died, General Vaidya was shot. The next person keeps moving on. The system clearly, nobody is indispensable. Our principals, and India mostly has got principal-led schools. That's the world over. Our egos are far too big as principals. And that gets down to our teachers also. Walk into a classroom, try correcting a teacher, Jesus Christ or Lord Krishna, you are in trouble. So our issues are much more human and humane, fundamental in those terms. To build up a culture of trust, leadership, and acceptance of mistakes. I, for one, believe that if the principal stands in an assembly and says, I am wrong,
So we lost
Hello?
your voice. Yeah, maybe sir, your
Hello?
frame has freezed. Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going through the presentation. Lots of people are looking at the presentation much more than I thought they would.
Colonel sir, since we were talking of army, I would just like to add something because I am very passionate about that. Being from a defense force, belong to Air Force family. So I think whatever you are telling is that what we live in the school. I will just give you a very small example, and I think I always tell it everywhere. How we deal with the parents is, our philosophy is like Jagannath Puri Yatra. Very simple. Imagine that your children are sitting on the chariot and there are two teams. One team is pulling. So when parents are pulling the chariot, teachers need to cheer. And when teachers are pulling the chariot, parents have to cheer. So the culture and the partnership which comes from the defense background, I think has a long way to go.
Yeah, fair point, ma'am. You talk about an excellent metaphor, but our challenge tends to be, unfortunately, within the school system also, there is so much of competition between schools that we have forgotten to share. That perhaps becomes much more important in terms of what we are saying. By the way, in the armed forces, promotions are quite ruthless. Hardly 0.01% make it to the higher ranks. Yet, if that teamwork is important, there is something to learn from.
True.
Yeah, I'm just going ahead with the slides. Yeah, this is one thing which I found it very interesting. A great focus on Indian values. There is a great deal of focus on Indian values. Yeah. Let's take a quick call, and I think I'm just running short of time. Quick comments. What do you make of this? We start with Shweta Shah. Quick comments. This slide.
Sir, it should be made mandatory for every student to know your national monuments or the importance of your culture rather than focusing more on other cultures, so that they at least know something about their country right
Fair.
from a very young age.
Yeah, I look for shorter answers. Okay, Asma Zaidi, your quick thoughts. You are
Oh
more
yes,
cultural.
oh yes. I think we need to learn about our country, and because I deal with early years, I'm all for traditional games, always.
Okay, okay. Nitya Ramaswamy.
I'm for it in the sense we've been here long before, like I read something while I was reading NEP. I know that when they were cavemen and when they were hunting, we were far ahead, but we cannot keep living on past
Yeah.
glory. We have to keep our windows open and go by. You know, it's like carting back to the future. That's important. You cart back to the future.
Yeah.
Ensure that it's there, and it's a very welcome point that they are bringing in. And there's like Pallanguri, that the traditional Tamil game of Pallanguri that we play, which is called Mankala nowadays in the emerging world, is nothing but teaches you probability. It's excellent. So I'm glad that these have been introduced.
Yeah. Colonel sir, your frame has increased. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm just going through the slides where exams become a huge area of focus. Ma'am, some of us who have seen the 86, 92 and the earlier new education policies, some of the old wine has come in new bottles. We must admit to that. Yeah. This part, board exams to be made easier. And as I was covering up, the HRD ministry has come out with an extremely good, extremely well organized method of getting these things implemented. They are charting it out quite well. As I heard Mrs. Karwal today morning, it looks good. It looks very grounded. And I really see a lot of scope for optimism. And they were all quite clear that the language thing, where there are a lot of questions being asked, where can we have one standard curriculum and syllabus across India, that was quickly and quite decisively put down on this. Yeah, this is the last of the big questions, and which I want you to ask. Parak and the culture of assessment, one of my favorite areas. Yeah, I'll start off with you, Asma Zaidi. What do you make of the new culture of assessment which is being highlighted? Asma Zaidi, can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm having a...
Yeah, can you see the screen? Yeah, I'll get back to her. Yeah, I'll start out with you, Nitya ma'am.
Sir, it is very progressive, definitely. And as I said, the written word in spirit is very, very good. It all depends on how well we are able to train the teachers in these new assessment techniques. And most important, when you go back to the word origin of assessment, it is to assist learning. It's the assessment that is there focused on assisting the child to learn. And that is where the way it's progressing, the framework seems to have outlined it very well. I think we just need to be far more focused on how we enable the teachers and the children and the parents to come on the same table to understand the progress in assessment techniques.
Right. I would certainly believe that this is going to be the single most important challenge. The system, after all, when you come into outcomes and when these progress cards become important, when we do backward integration with academic credits, etc., in the higher education space, this is going to be important. Asma Zedi, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
It is.
your quick take on the holistic progress card.
I agree with ma'am that it looks very promising. I think the challenge is going to be to make sure that it is done like this, the way it is meant to be in every school. That's going to be the
The
bigger
way it's
challenge.
meant to be, way it's meant to be. Shweta Shah, do you agree with Asma Zedi?
It will be difficult because we have a category called teacher assessment as well. So that will be the tricky part of it. And yes, I'm very happy about it because it will give every kind of a learner quite a lot of importance because there are different kind of learners. So child will be assessed on basis of sport, art, or any kind of a vocational kind of a learning. So it's justice to all kind of children.
Everyone agrees to Sima, the question would be teacher assessment. Tricky. Microsoft's Bill Gates tried getting some parameters. He spent $700 million, finally said that I know when I enter a class if it's a good class, but teacher assessment is tricky. How would you see Shweta's very good question, teacher assessment? How do we go ahead with teacher assessment?
As per the document, it looks very visionary, but again, when it comes to the ground, we have to see, are our teachers mentally ready for teacher assessment? Because till now, the system that we are going ahead with, the teachers are the one who possess the knowledge and they share it. But are they mentally ready? Are we providing that kind of stimulation? So it is good, and it will give us the opportunity to learn and unlearn, as I spoke in the beginning. But at the same time, we have to ensure that we are preparing this generation of teachers to take up the kind of challenges. Looks very good. Implementation is the key.
Yeah.
Sir, I would like to add.
I'll come back to you. Provocative question, Seema. Are principals ready to be assessed?
Yes, very good question. And I think before teachers, principal should be assessed.
Yeah.
And that is how it should start.
Yeah. Are principals willing to look into the mirror and say that these are areas which we have to improve? Come, since I have done it, I can ask you,
yes,
how many of us are willing to get our teachers to assess us in a SWOT analysis form and willing to tell our teachers, correct our mistakes? Asma Zaidi.
Yes, sir, I completely agree. And I will again give the example of my school setting where the leaders take equal participation. So if you have heard for CENTA, if you have heard about CENTA and the Teaching Professional Olympiad,
I am aware.
All of us, including the leaders, took the TPO. And it was a very pleasant surprise that and thankfully, the leaders turned out to be rank holders. But this is again the culture that you set and the appraisals that you have. Your teaching standards will only come from regular and annual appraisals. So you need to have like a proper standardized appraisal system in your school system, which is going to ensure that teacher standards are constantly rising because of the constant appraisal.
Yeah, teacher appraisal. Are you able to hear me? Asma Zedi, madam, teacher appraisals are tricky, and I have my strong reservations on a lot of things we do.
We have taken CENTA standards for teacher appraisals and modified them.
I have my reservations of CENTA. We leave it at that. I have seen CENTA. I won't get into it. I have my reservations of PISA also. And Chandra has got me to do this session, understanding all my strong views. So it's good for you, you're able to. But the other question to Nithya Ramaswamy, training and development has to be separate from appraisals. It's a difficult task. And often, in a very, teachers are very emotional creatures because our children are emotional. They are not adults, and we also tend to become not often adults. So how do we get training and development of 50 hours for the teacher right without attacking her appraisal in an invasive manner? Nithya Ramaswamy.
Sir, there are 2 points. First point is earlier NEP 86 said there were 60 hours of training, and that 60 hours of training was 1/10 of the number of hours a particular subject is taught.
Right.
600 hours is what a particular subject is taught in a particular year, and 10% was there. I do not know why they've cut short the 10 hours. I grieved when I saw loss of 10 hours, but that's a different point.
50
Second
plus
point
50, 50 plus 50, 100 looks a better figure, ma'am. Please continue.
Hopefully they do it twice a year, sir. And now the second point is, the most important is every school, every educational organization must have its competency matrix in place for you to develop and train teachers and all stuff. Training and development. I may be a very competent teacher. For example, is my competencies matching my class where I'm teaching to enable me achieve my objectives? I have to be trained and developed according to that. And if I find in my training, is it competency based training? And is the competency matrix of the staff mapped with the competency matrix of the educational organization for you to plan and map the road of training and development? Training and development is a different map, I agree. And that is one thing I totally agree. Performance appraisal is a different map. However, both can be linked based on if you believe that people can improve, then based on the performance appraisal, it has to be according to vintage, sir. A new teacher may be observed 3 times. A teacher who's 4 years old can be observed twice. A teacher who's 10 years old could be probably observed once, but the skill matrix and the competency matrix comes under training and development, and that is different. And that has to match with the competency matrix of the educational organization.
Right. I mean, what I have found is walkthroughs, informal comments, support, non-invasive leadership, a culture of giving and taking. I tend to work much better in terms of training and development. And I am yet to find an appraisal system which does not give rise to, say, a pre-primary teacher. She has worked so very hard. The 10th and 12th standard teachers get bonuses because their results are better. There is a lot which we require to see. And hopefully the pre-primary area which Square Panda focuses upon now, to my mind, this policy will give the pre-primary, the early foundation teacher their rightful place. The superstars are the physics, chemistry, maths, and the biology teachers who are in 9, 10, 11, 12. And I, for one, if they have got a few students into IITs or the medical colleges, I can confirm to you that their egos are bigger than that of principals too. That's the system of evaluation and assessment which we are doing. So I'll just go, I think we have only a few more minutes to do. I'll now take final comments from each and every one of you. And I'll start with the one who was relatively late, Asma Zaidi. Your big take on, I've been to Hyderabad, I'm familiar with what some of the work which is being done. So what are your big takeaways as far as the education policy is concerned? Short answer, the 2 things you believe are going to dramatically change schools. Asma Zaidi first.
Importance in early years, importance to early years and foundation years. I think that is going to make a huge difference. The importance of pre-primary and nursery education is going to make a huge difference. The way assessments are done, the board systems is going to make a huge difference. 11th standard being the 12th standard being added to your graduation level, and the method of getting a diploma and a certificate and your graduation degree, I think that's going to make a huge difference too.
Okay. Shweta Shah, your take.
My take on this new policy will be, sir, importance to EC, early childhood care and education, and teacher training made very vital right from the beginning stage. And if it is taken in a proper way, and if personal trainers and counselors are provided per school, it would be a fantastic thing. And yes, a lot of importance being given to life values, life skills, that will make each and every child stand out in a particular way and face life in a very beautiful way. Importance should be given to adversity quotient as well. I don't know how they implement it, but AQ should be given importance, and multiple intelligence and learning styles. So focuses on learning styles. Each child is a different kind of a learner, and the curriculum will be made according to that.
Okay, interesting thoughts. I'll just answer a few questions. Is there any training for parents too? Sure. Parental training, I think there is only one university in the whole world which focuses only on parenting. Chandar, there is some idea. Please start off training for parents, and training for parents is something I think all the principals here will desperately like to
Very
have.
vital. Yes, sir. Very important.
Yeah. So, yeah, what type of assessment is expected? If it's Pushpanar, if it's paper and pen, it doesn't make a difference. I am not sure what does Madam Pushpa mean. Why doesn't paper and paper make a difference? It does. My own point is it has to be holistic. And I, for one, believe that textbooks will be irrelevant after 3 to 5 years. We have got to look at very new and different ways of looking at it.
I think it
Seema
looks
Negi,
beyond general.
the education.
What I like more about it, multilingualism, which is the need of the hour, and at the same time giving the choice to the children to select the kind of subject they want to select, and going more liberal rather than being compartmentalized into science, commerce, and humanities. It's a visionary document. Implementation is awaited.
Right. It's a visionary document. Implementation is awaited. As we are coming to the end of it, I'm showing the timelines which is there. This is perhaps something which everyone is looking at. So those of you who are listening to it, the fire is not going to burn in 24 hours. There's a long way to go ahead. So the final word to the doyen of our panel, Madam Nithya Ramaswamy. We have seen from 68 to 86 to 92 to 2020.
Yeah.
And let me cut. I do not know how much you dye your hair, but my hair is quite gray. So with that,
sir, the thing is, it's very, very progressive. And I love the approach towards the Delta approach, where they've broken it at 2nd, 5th, and 8th, and then the 12th. The Delta approach is really very good. And if you remember years back when we were studying, we had what was called as ESSLC, 8th Standard Elementary School Leaving Certificate, which was excellent, where the child was able to break up into vocationalization. If that is going to be brought alive by the policy because of this Delta approach, we are here to stay, because this will attend to the rural India. It's not only Bombay that we are talking about. Considering the length and breadth of our country, vocationalization is also being given a lot of focus. Vocationalization of education is very progressive. Assessment is very progressive. Training and development is very progressive. Delta approach is very progressive. And if they bring this ESSLC, it will be really good.
Yes.
Right. Ma'am. Yeah, I think she has covered it quite well. I keep this slide at the last because most people think about how it's going to come up. I, for one, would end by talking about training, development, and also the mindset of our students and parents. We are coming into a generation of students who have not seen life before Google and WhatsApp. And we are coming into a generation of teachers whose reference is Google, and Google searches do not last beyond the first or second page, 92% of the time. And 62% of all Google searches go back to Google, where they make the money. So, sorry for the language, Chandar. Truth is one part, there is lies, there is also bullshit. From truth to lies to bullshit, how do we move this in a postmodern world? So the teacher has to go beyond. The FANG, the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google want you to be impatient. If you do not click within the next 2 minutes, you won't get this free. So the technology giants want you to be impatient. Education, by definition, wants you to think and reflect. We require to create quality teachers who are willing to think and reflect, for which training is of utmost importance. For that training to happen, quality leadership and quality. I hope I've summarized the views of all the panelists and added something of my own. So let us listen, study, and reflect on what we have to know rather than what we are interested in knowing. I am interested in Sachin Tendulkar. All files of Tendulkar come. But please also remember that there are cases where Tendulkar has not come up trumps. Maybe Dravid has. So let us go beyond the superficials, develop more patience and reflection, and let's all strive together to make this policy workable so that India's demographic dividend becomes a demographic success. Thank you to all the distinguished.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Back to you, Chandan.
So I would like to thank all the panelists to join here over a period of time. This journey of last 12 weeks, where once or twice we missed out because of tech issues. So last 14 weeks has been really being elemental, and we have learned a lot. One takeaway for me at a personal level is we hope a lot of morality and spiritualism also comes into students with the new value system being spoken of. So that's where maybe the new generation will be more earth and more grounded. As in every, say, house, if there is no earthing, you get currents here and there. It's the same way. We hope that our new generation gets more earthing and they are more grounded. About the teachings for parents, as Shekhar sir said, we are having a Sunday community where we are actually doing training sessions for parents. But maybe we have not informed it in a great way. Maybe we'll write a mail to all our participating teachers that they should get their parents community to be there to get the parents also get a training from our side. And we are starting a new series from the coming Thursday where we'll be talking about a lot of skills, a lot of professional development, as sir said, is something which is required. We'll be talking on those aspects. I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart to all the panelists, right from Nitya ma'am, Colonel Sir, Sweta ma'am, Asma ji, Dr. Seema, Harsha ma'am, and everybody at the back end, Nandini, Pankaj, who have been instrumental in getting this series through. And not to forget all our participants who have joined us in large numbers every time and have been interacting and collecting our YouTube videos and Facebook videos also at the back end. Thank you very much. A big namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.
One point, this presentation is available on the internet. It's one of the better ones. You can take it. So many people are asking those questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir.
Good day.
Good.
If you are able to look into the future, you will see that most of the learning is going to happen with a lot of fun, lot of gamification, lot of emotion, and a lot of technology. Square Panda, which has disrupted the whole scenario, the system wherein the child learns not just ABCD, but learns how to pronounce them, how to read them.
Pan. Sat is on pan. Sat is on pan. Good job. Yes.
We should look at new methodologies and accept them. These are research based. There are a lot of trials have been done on children, parents, everybody. If it is effective, then there is no reason why we should not accept it.
From the creators of the award-winning English Early Literacy Phonics Playset, we bring to you a research-based, revolutionary and cutting-edge English reading product. Square Tales combine digital learning with physical application, transforming your pre-readers into independent and confident readers. Your child starts instantly from our bookshelf. Our patented blending engine helps your child blend letter sounds to form words with only 8 letters.
Pan.
Once they practice the words, they can start to read along the story through a very engaging and interactive interface.
Sap is on pan. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Pan is in sap. Pan is in sap.
Several engaging activities at the end of each book help the child revise what they have learned.
Good job. Word match. Match each picture to the correct word. Tap. Nap. Sap. Good job. Yes.
And while the children revise, our product assess their learning. Just try Square Tales 15 minutes a day to see a stark progress in your child.
Yeah, so we come to the end of the session. Seema ma'am, Colonel sir, one last line from you, and Shweta ji, last line from you. We just put in that ad for a better effect. Yeah.
Yeah, Seema, the ladies first, please.
No, starting from you, sir.
हाँ आप लोग करो भाई मैं खत्म कर लेता हूँ. I've spoken enough. Yeah, all of you.
So, Chandraji, good job. You are doing a good job. You are becoming, you are bringing revolution in reading, especially phonetic-based reading. Keep on doing the good work. Keep on bringing the community together, educators, learners, parents, and these small drops will become a mighty ocean soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Shweta.
You are on mute, Shweta.
Unmute yourself.
Please.
Yeah. I'm so very excited about the parenting and the next session you are starting. Would love to be a part of it. And it was wonderful connecting to Seema ma'am and Colonel Shekhar sir. And lovely questions, sir. I was just wishing that it'll be an easy one to answer.
No. Yeah, see, the point is, this was a different discussion. I have been
Very
part
nice.
of many.
Wonderful.
I've been part of many. And it was important that everyone, the attempt was to have at least 6 rounds of questions to each one of you. The presentation was going on, the conversation was going on. Repeating the same thing what others are saying doesn't make sense.
Make a point.
And I think
Exactly.
doesn't make. So we have to look at newer things. So fortunately, we looked at it differently. And I think all of you answered it quite well, in the sense that this whole thing is going to be a huge development in those terms. I hope that if you guys are present, I'll just share with you Anita Karwal's presentation. It's good for you to have a quick look.
Yeah, please.
Chandar, can I take 2-3 minutes here?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well worth going through. This was her presentation today. I kept it with me so that many of those things can be seen. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
No,
Not
sir.
yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Acha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I have to now stop share and introduce new share. Yeah. Are you able to see now?
Still not.
Yet, sir.
Yeah, ये क्यों नाराज हो रहा है? Yeah, it's a small presentation. I think, yeah, screen share is shop, the window is closed. तुम देखना. Yeah, as we are talking, I just get you this sorted out. In the sense, what had happened was, there is something known as Nexus of Good, which is run by Mr. Anil Swaroop. So I am part of it. And because I am part of it, we were able to, and we got the original presentation also, since we didn't have her. Is it now visible?
No, sir. Yes, now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going through it so that you guys can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. forget the story. Yeah. This is the aim of the ministry. I'm not going to explain anything. Feel free to ask me questions if you want to. This is the big picture they are looking at. Reach, knowledge, implementation, and guide.
Sir, I have one question. They are
Yeah.
talking about the training program. So will these trainers be chosen by the government
आएगा
or they will
आएगा 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 उसमें तो काफी टाइम है बेटा, काफी टाइम है.
Okay.
There is a lot more to come in.
Right.
I will get back to all the questions once you see through the presentation. Okay. Forget the story. Yeah. Now, some of your questions would be answered. What all things have to be done? This is how they are working it out on. There are the 4 NCFs, the foundation learning program, preparatory classes. All these are being worked out at the ministry level. Yeah. Now you can go through how the implementation will happen. The information dissemination, the consultation is already happening. Task, organization, timelines, and process management. This is how they have identified it. The textbooks are 250 textbooks. It's not 1 or 2. SCF, NCF is national, SCF is state curriculum framework. The left ones are the non-financial ones, the right ones are the money-based. This is how they are making the task. This is part of, there's only one page, so many tasks, 305, as you see it. They have identified 305. This is how they are going ahead doing it.
Okay.
This tracking part is easy. I think most of us would have the same thing in our schools. Yeah, this is how the implementation would happen. AE stands for adult education, TE stands for teacher education, SE stands for school education.
Right.
Yeah. Achieving foundational literacy by 2025. These are the way they are looking at it. My sense is add 1 year to this, we'll be okay.
Right.
I just had one question,
Bol
which
bhai.
is relevant. One question: how will the primary schools in the vernacular medium react to the language?
No, it's already there. See, I don't see a problem there. I'll come to that. Let me finish this. Some part of your question is answered, Chandar?
Yeah. I think as you develop both. Yeah. Mother tongue and the.
Yeah, mother tongue, medium of instruction वाली local language सभी cover कर रहे हैं. This is how the big implementation, it broadly matches with the presentation I shared. So there was nothing much to change that way. I think this is the key, how they are looking at it. she was very candid regarding the challenges, very candid. And I, for one, was quite positive about the way she was thinking. Understanding, stability, realistic implementation. We are going to go ahead doing it using of modern tools. Yeah. Yeah. I think you've got a pretty good idea what it's being said.
Right.
Yeah. And now you can ask your questions. I was present for the session. You can ask me. Yeah.
I'm on mute. So my question is, how will the vernacular medium schools, specifically the primary schools grade 1 to 5, they are currently also implementing English and one vernacular language, maybe the language of the state. But how they will implement the 3-language policy and how?
Not 3 language. वो तो already है. See, the challenge, I'll give you examples where, see, we are looking at it from an English medium context. The answer to this question, and now since I try to read most, is the language in the initial, any time should be the language of the playground. आप किसी हिंदी बोलने वाले बच्चे को cat बोलो, बिल्ली बोलने पे 1,000 bulbs come in. Cat बोलने पे वो नहीं होता है. And there are Stanford studies which talk about mother tongue being so very important in even conversation. My point would be I'm a Bengali, married to a Gujarati, children speaking multiple languages, joined the army all over the place. We'll have to look for certain specific options for them. The bigger challenge, I for one would see that, say, check out a school by the name of Pallikudam, which is a school run by Arundhati Roy's mother, Mary Roy. For the last so many years, they have been having mother tongue as the medium till grade 2. And the children are doing well. I think Sardar Patel School in Delhi is also an example. I, for one, would look at English would be there as a language. I may not even go for all subjects in the mother tongue. I might look for maybe social sciences. I might look for more options. I would wait for the curriculum framework to come in, and I will try and see how the balances will work out. So I'll try and see how those things will kind of work out, which will help us understand better. But looking at this presentation, I am quite positive that the ministry is onto it. Yes, Shweta, you had a question.
Sir, I had a question that if they are making pre-primary education, EC valid, then the starting age group will be 3 years? Like when the child is put to a preschool?
Yeah, I think it is between 3 and 4. Some states have 2 years, some states have 3. Let's wait for the ECC coming up. I would certainly look at a student completing 12th by the time he's 18. Anything beyond would be difficult. Pace itself out.
Because, sir, if it is 3 years, then preschools normally take intakes for playgroup are 2.5. So it will be a major setback.
No, it won't be. I think this will kind of settle down. This is initially like a T20, the way we have adjusted to online classes. It was different. I think that will settle down. That will be the lesser of my worries. My biggest worry would be teachers, training teachers, and getting them to understand that what you are telling them today.
Right,
see, right. The attempt is to now understand that Shweta, Chandar, Seema, Nitya Ramaswamy, and Asma, you all have a certain knowledge level. It's not my job to impose myself and say I know everything. It's my job to say that what can I learn from you? That fundamental mindset concept is a challenge. We are unwilling. Here in this panel, everyone supported each other. We had space. Everyone was given. There were questions challenged, not an issue. But what happens is the teacher wants to be the authority for everything. That's how we have been brought up with. We do not want to. So that mindset change, and that I could not cover. From a guru, the teacher has to become a learning curator.
You have to be a learner, right?
You have to be a learning curator, Shweta, not a learner alone. I am putting in a presentation. I should know that this presentation is valid because I have to verify. If you check, type out and say Barack Obama was not born in the US, you will get 1 million sites. And even now, 20% of Americans believe that he was not born in the US. He was born in Hawaii. There is a birth certificate, but people push through these theories. So what's now going to happen is the validation of content. Blended learning is going to come into play. You have seen one model of what is the national education policy. I have seen some other model. Your mother tongue is Gujarati. You have seen a model in Gujarati. I have seen it in English. Both of us are learning. We require to understand that content per se is going to be irrelevant. What the quality of content, the validation of content is going to be more important. 2, you're going to have students on Monday in Seema Negi school. Monday, they will come to the school, 10 of them face to face. On that same Monday, 10 of them will be observing Seema's lessons online. Another 10 will listen to the lesson online, but not live. So you require to have teachers who can do face-to-face, who can do online, who are able to discuss offline. I've done recently set up a course which is offline. It was a struggle. I'm at my best when I can interact. So there'll be 3 types of teachers. There'll be 3 different types of assessments. And even more importantly, say I have taught Newton's laws of motion. Chandar has seen it. He doesn't follow it. He accesses a Gujarati channel from Baroda where Newton's second law is explained very well in Gujarati. That is not in the control of the teacher. If the child is able to learn the non-formal, formal parts of it, accept it. And in all this context, get your assessments right. So this is going to be complex, and I already see this happening wherein we are so focused on our controls. We are so focused on doing what we think is right. So the changes are going to be tremendous. And I certainly believe that a new generation of teachers have to come up who will politely but firmly, good morning, Colonel sir, how are you? Yesterday evening in your lesson, you were so stupid, sir, I am sorry. That freedom we have to create in culture. We are not ready for it yet. I was lucky. I have been with excellent commanders who were willing to be questioned, and I allowed my staff and students to question me. In fact, my head boy...
Acceptance has to be there. Acceptance has to be there from every educator's side.
Not even acceptance. It is a willingness to be proved wrong by your student. That's an ego problem, Shweta. In an assembly where 1,500 students are saying, your head boy says, sir, principal sir, I disagree with you. And he's explaining, give him space, overrule him. But that's not our culture. We require that control. That's one. Second is assessment. I like Chanda's face, I'll give him more marks. I don't like his face, I'll give him less marks. Till now, we have one size fits for all testing. Yes, every paper. Now, when you are including more, I mean, you have taken this lesson from me. I'm not going to write a test. I will produce a video. Now, I have produced a video. Chandar produced a presentation. And for Chandar, I have given him 4 out of 5. For my video, I am given 3. The parents are watching it. They'll come and challenge you. Why is that presentation better? You'll have to have very clear evaluation, assessment, methodologies, processes, metrics. Why it is better, why it is not. वो टीचरों को समझाने के लिए मेरे जैसे ट्रेनर्स को बहुत पैसा मिलेगा because this is going to be a huge challenge. Yes, that's how, you know, so those are the bigger challenges which will come in. Then parents will have so much more understanding of what you are doing online. They are able to listen into you. And in Bangalore, it's been a big issue, parental bullying. So the teacher has to come up trumps. So earlier on, the teacher was the guru. From the guru, the guru became a teacher. From a teacher to an educator, to a facilitator. So now a learning curator wherein the student will ask, Pythagoras theorem padhne se mujhe fayda kya hai? Why should I learn Alauddin Khilji? You require to be contextual. You require to have a system wherein all this learning will get you a COVID vaccine or a COVID specific school. Tomorrow as a teacher, as a principal, you can run a school in the midst of a pandemic. There has to be outcomes, results. And in this final point, you start off with say 5 objectives. There is one global objective, 5 objectives. From that 5 specific objectives in a class of 30, you are able to cover in a 40-minute class 4 objectives. Out of your 30 students, 15 of them follow those 4. Another 10 only follow 3. Another 5 only will follow 2. So, how will you get your learning outcomes sorted out when you are starting off with 4? Right? And lastly, now the schools are being run by the teachers and principals. We are making a mistake there. Are we ready to have tests when the students are ready? No, we are doing it when we are ready. So these are the big challenges. If we want to have a learning organization coming in, we have to change. Why should tests only happen in February, March? Why should we have vacations for students? So all these things will matter. I think it's already 6 o'clock. आज बात करेंगे तो लंबा चलेगा. And we still have 130 people watching us. Enough, Chandar. Can we close the session? Yeah.
Sure,
before we do that, for Seema and Shweta, any questions on the presentation you saw?
No, sir, it was very well made, and I think very simplistic to understand the approach. And as again and again, I mean, I have heard you also, it is visionary. And if we have right people, right direction, I don't think implementation is difficult. But the only thing is this mindset that you are speaking about, that is needed. And mindset not only for parents, not only for educators, but for the entire society, entire community.
Dr. Seema, the quota industry is 10,000 crores.
Yes.
There are so many held, I mean, it's interesting to know again where we look at it. In the United States, do you have more funerals where the bodies are burned, or you have more burials? Just guess. In the US. It's a Christian country. Do you have more burials or you have more burnings, or rather jala dete hain? What happens? What is your understanding, Seema? Just guess.
My guess is burial.
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 I guess burial.
Yes. Yeah. 60% of it is burning, only 40% is burial, because burning costs $4,000 lesser than burials. So there are so many of these nuances. What we try and do is that we look at a pre-existing format. The challenge to change existing mindset, Dr. Seema, is going to be tremendous.
Yes.
And the fact that we are now talking about this is itself something which I believe will happen. The good point is governments are now finding this to be vote winners. Good education means we'll be elected back like Kejriwal. So state governments are focusing on it. Money will be a challenge. Okay. Thank you. Shweta, any questions you have?
You are on
Unmute
mute.
yourself. Shweta, unmute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You answered almost everything. It was like a magician's box, and everything was just coming out.
Now it is like
Nice,
we have all the answers. We have to look for questions. Sir.
So now, if I have to say something, I have so much to say. Like I got to learn so many things.
I have solutions. Let me find the problems.
Let me find the problems.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, I'll be like, come on, ask me now.
Yeah. The point is, any good session, if you start saying, I do not know, I am sorry, I have made mistakes in life, I apologize, I have failed. my 5 mantras for an educator. If all of us can do that, we'll all win. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
God
sir.
bless
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Thank
Have
you.
another assignment.
Bye, Seema ma'am.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Learning to read was never so much fun. Help your child acquire reading skills starting at home. Get your child reading and learning with the SquareTales reading app today and turn them into confident readers for life. Each book slowly increases the level of learning, following a sequence of phonological awareness, so your child becomes an independent reader. All this while the child is playing. Download the SquareTales reading app today.